Hello, dear friends. In today's video, I will show my game against Aravind last game of French team championship. I had black pieces. Let's go. Yes, earlier in December of 2023, I had a classical game against Aravind, and he played e4. So mainly, I was expecting e4 and did not really prepare d4. Yes, but he's a very, very strong player and he can switch to different openings, different first moves. Yes, he played d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3. Here I could go d5, but I decided to be very principled. Bishop b4, and he played knight f3. Yes, very often here I'm going against this setup, knight c3 and knight f3. I'm going short castle. But for this game, I decided why not let's go d5 and let's get Ragozin. Yes, my opponent was blitzing out all his moves, bishop g5, of course h6 is the strongest, one of the main moves, takes, e3 short castle, rook c1, all this well known, d takes c, bishop c4, c5, and earlier I had a game against Brunello, I had a game against Ioannidis, and some other games. Yes. Let's say short castle, c takes d, knight takes d4, bishop d7, and if queen b3, knight c6. And if knight takes c6, bishop c3. I think somewhere here Ioannidis went queen takes c3, and after bishop c6, queen f6, g takes f. After a couple of moves, we agreed in a draw, and somewhere here Brunello offered me a draw. Yes, queen b3. Very tricky move. Uh, Confusing move. And of course, if you go knight c6, then the point is being to take d takes c. For example, I could go queen e7, short castle, c takes d. You can go e takes d, you can take knight d4, and something like bishop c5, rook fd1, b6. Yes, I already took uh, a lot of time, maybe even about 20 minutes, and I took on d4. Yes, my point was if you take with the knight, then I wanted to go queen e7. My opponent took queen b4. Here, for example, after the game, some friends of mine, they um, asked why didn't I take on c3. Yes, queen takes c3, and here you shouldn't take on c3 because after rook c3 you are having some problems. It's possible, it's playable, it's not bad, very slightly better for white, but queen e7 would have been even stronger. Yes, I played knight c6. My point is being if you go queen a3, d takes c, and I'm simply getting extra tempo by developing my knight on c6. But of course, here the trick is being knight e4. And now let's say my initial idea was to go queen g6, but when Aravind already played knight e4 and he was blitzing out, I realized that something is there. And I found that after queen g6, queen a3 takes and bishop d3 comes. And simply bishop h7 is a threat. So here, for example, if queen g4, then check and queen takes f8. This is better position for white. Queen g2 ideas aren't working because of rook g1 and queen g7 checkmate ideas. According to engines, queen d5 is possible. And here, not queen a5 because of b4, just b6. And it's complicated. But of course, when I played knight c6, I thought if my opponent goes queen a3, it's good for me. If knight e4, I have choice between queen g6 and knight b4. And I was fine also with knight b4 uh, move. So knight b4 takes, and knight takes d4, bishop d7. So the point is being, of course, white ruined my pawn structure, but it's not much because queens are uh, traded, and how are you going to exploit my targets? Yes. Uh, yeah. If king e2, then rook fc8, a3 knight c6, bishop b5. As you can see, uh, Aravind was uh, playing very quickly. For example, if I take knight d4, then after bishop d7, I'm in some trouble. I could go rook fc8, but I did not like bishop takes c6. So I found rook b8. Still, I'm making all the strongest moves. So the point is being, if you take with the knight, of course, b takes comes, and then b2 pawn is hanging. If you take with the bishop, then b takes c6, and here b2 pawn is too weak. And if b4, then always a5 ideas are there. Is my opponent, after spending a couple of minutes, went b4. Again, if I take knight d4, then bishop d7, I'm in some trouble. Here I could go rook fc8. I saw it. I did not like bishop takes c6. And I thought if it takes it, then knight b3, white is already having something because I'm not in time to go a5. But bishop c6 is there. Of course, if takes, then you simply take with the b pawn, and now you are threatening c5, you are threatening a5. If rook c5, there is rook b5. So this something similar I saw, but I was slightly worried, and I went a5, which is like very healthy move, possible option, and still evaluation is around equal. Here I could go rook f d8 according to engines. Rook f d8 is even stronger than what I played. Knight takes d4 and knight b3. Of course, earlier with the pawn on a7 and pawn on b4, knight b3 ideas was not there. So yes, it's already possible that a5 pawn is hanging. So rook c3. I took the pawn, king e2, rook d8. For example, here my opponent after the game said that he could go rook d1, but b5 is there, and I was planning to go b5 and b4. If I manage to trade a and b pawns, it's It's like very, very drawish. So my opponent played bishop b5. I decided to trade one pair of rooks and f5. Yes, I was feeling very good at that point, and I thought that all my issues, all my problems are in past. As my opponent played h3, and here I don't like my decision of going h5, though I should say that it's fine anyway. I could go king g7. Let's say I was worried about g4, f takes g, h takes g, and later on maybe f4, king f3. I saw that h5 move is there, g takes h, rook d5. But if, even rook d5 is much stronger. With the idea not to go h5, with the idea to go rook g5, attack the pawn on g4, and then h5. I think if I would play king g7, uh, and if Aravind would play g4, game most likely would end in a draw very, very easily. So I played h5, stopping all kind of g4 ideas. So I played h4, fixing my pawn on h5, king g7, rook c7, king f6, f4, b6. Yes, engines are showing that it's dead draw. Uh, yes, the problem is if I manage to trade a and b pawns, then I don't have any small issues. Of course, by keeping bishop on b5 and rook on c7, it makes harder for me to activate my rook because always bishop e8 ideas are there. So king e1, king g6, a4, king f6. I played knight b3, knight a5. I could go rook a8. And I saw rook a8. I saw that I'm having ideas to play knight c5 and take on a4. But later on, I realized that what if after taking on a4, bishop c6 follows, and if I go rook a5, let's say bishop e8. So because of that, I went knight a5, rook c3, king f6, bishop e2. Yes, eventually my opponent decided to attack my pawn on h5 and bring bishop to h1, a8 diagonal. So I played king g6, bishop f3, and here I made very, very big inaccuracy. Just playing rook d7 or playing rook d6. Of course, I was most likely afraid of allowing rook c8 and then rook h8 or rook g8. But the problem is being for white, let's say I go rook d7 or rook d6. It's important here just not to play rook d6 because after rook d3 you are in huge trouble. King simply comes and probably takes pawn on b6. You just go rook d6, rook d8 back. And if rook d3 you don't trade the rook, so you just go rook c8. Yes, and if something like rook c8, then rook g8 is simply nothing because you can simply go, let's say, even king h7. Because if rook h8, you just go king g7. If rook g8, you go king h7. Rook g5, you have f6 ideas, and rook h5, king g7. And of course, now you can start with knight b3, activate your knight, and later on knight c5 maybe. Yes, most likely I was in time trouble, afraid of this kind of things. But rook b8. So the most important thing for black is not to let white's king to slowly come to b6 target and weakness. And I by playing rook b8, I allowed king d1. Of course, my point was I was thinking that here I'm in time to go b5. But of course, b5 ideas aren't working because of simply rook c5. This was one of my uh, mistakes. By playing rook b8, I wanted to go b5, but rook c5 always comes and I'm in huge trouble. So I played this. Here I could go still rook e8 with the idea to play e5, but I did not find it. And rook c7. This is just very unpleasant. King c3, king b4 is threatening. And I played b5 with the hope that my opponent will play rook a7, knight c4, a5, b4, but of course rook c5. And here king c3, very important move. And here, of course, the only move, but it's enough just to take. And this position is completely lost because opponent simply pushes pawn on b7. So king f7, king f6, b6, and after king e7, b7, king b6, and opponent starts collecting all my pawns. Yes, overall, I did not play bad game. I found many important moves, including knight c6, knight takes b4. I saw that queen a3, bishop d3 tactical idea is there. I found bishop d7, knight c6, rook a b8, a5, and except just playing rook b8, very hard to uh, explain why I went rook b8. Probably the idea is being to go b5, but it is so obvious that b5 opponent is having rook c5. And if you somehow even trade your b5 pawn with e3 pawn, it's not enough for you because a pawn will be, or b pawn will be just very, very powerful, very strong. Yes, I could just keep my rook on d file. Maybe I was afraid or worried about rook c8, but as I already explained, I'm just activating my knight and all kind of threats with rook g8, king h7, or rook h8, king g7. Black is just fine. Yes, this game, by winning this game, my opponent crossed for the first time 2700. Yes, and he was recently playing very good chess in Dubai Polish Open Tournament, where I also played in Sharjah Masters and in French Game Championship as well. Thank you very much, dear friends, for watching this video. Hope you like the way I'm recording um, the videos. Hope the quality of webcam has improved, and hope to see you very, very soon. Thank you.